Well, good Friday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com, also the WLBB app. And this morning we're on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. So good morning to those of you tuning in. I encourage you to post any questions and comments you may have for our guests this morning on that page, and I'll introduce you to them right now. Carroll County Board of Education Chairperson Bryant Turner, sitting to my left. Sitting to my right is Board of Education Vice Chairperson, Sandra Morrison. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody.
Coming out.
Good morning.
One of the reasons I brought you on here, I posted a story on Tuesday, I think. Monday, Tuesday, it got a lot of attention, so I want to talk a little bit about that. But also, Carroll County is going back to school on the 5th, August 5th. I mean, that's just around the corner.
That's really close. Really close.
Summer has come and gone.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame it's going by so quick. But COVID, any preparations for COVID, anything parents or students need to know as far as coming back? Because, there is talk that we've got this, these actually two new strains or substrains or whatever they're called. But and we've got monkeypox too. We don't want to forget about that. But do you guys, anything as far as parents should know and students as far as getting ready for the school year when it comes down to that?
It's the same protocol and procedures that we had in the previous year as we left. If you're sick, that's not the place for you to be. And then, of course, plenty of hand sanitizer stations and a lot of standard procedures that we'd already implemented. We'll continue those into this next school year. Just trying to be cautious and courteous to those around you.
When you guys do this, the new calendars, you do typically tend to start on a Thursday or Friday, and I think there's a good reason for that. You want to mention that? Because it's one day a week and we're just coming,
Yeah, it was extended a little bit this year.
Yeah, we like to break them in just a couple of days. I mean, these kids have been used to staying at home or doing other activities all week, so let's break them in. Come see us, a day or two, and then we'll be ready for the full week.
We extended pre-planning this year by a few days, give our teachers a few more days to prepare. They enjoyed that the previous year, and so we heard their voice, and gives them a little more prep time. And starting on Friday is really a good day. I mean, we got to be honest, that allows folks to get in the routine, just as Ms. Morris said, and then be able to really hit it the next Monday running, ready to hit the books.
Recommendations for parents. I don't know if you guys follow up on this, but the kids, they've been staying up late supposedly during the summer, things like that. Is it 2 weeks? Is that the period, where you encourage them to get their kids to bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock to get them prepped for school? Is that the?
We may encourage it, but if you do it 3 days in a row, you're doing good.
Yeah,
I got 2 boys at home, and they know the rules and regulations during school time, and they're not looking forward to it. So I give them as long as they can, and so I figure, well, if they can get in there and hit Friday, then we'll be ready. We'll be better ready by Monday.
Reminds me, I got some more baseball cards to give to
those guys.
It's hard to go to bed when it's still daylight outside.
No kidding.
It is. It's tough.
I remember that as a kid too. But, and the big reason that I brought you guys in again, I did this story on Tuesday talking about the millage rate. And there was a lot of confusion, or people assume they know everything about that. You can see that from some of the comments on there. And my understanding is, the assessors go out there, they review your property, and if they think the property is increased, they put that on the. It's not a bill, but they send it to you, and they base that on if the millage rate stays the same. They said this is what you will pay additional in taxes, and then it goes down to the governments, and the school board to review their millage rate, and you guys have the option of rolling it back, which will basically say you'll collect the exact same, or pretty much the same taxes as you did the previous year. But when all the property values go up a little bit, there's a chance that people are going to have to pay that extra. And so you guys had the millage rate discussion this week. He talked about it on Monday, and then yesterday you did approve kind of a rollback. It's the rate for the last 5 years at least. And
Since 17.
Okay, 17.998 mils, and you guys tentatively approved it to go down to 17.5. Now, when we do say tentatively, I mean, if people do come out and speak against it, are you guys going to listen to that? And there's a possibility that it could go back anymore, or maybe they encourage you to raise it.
Yeah. We have 3 public hearings, which is the protocol once we set a tentative rate. And so we'll have 3 public hearings over the next month. And that gives people, of course, time for public input and those kind of things. But ultimately, we have to deal with exactly what we're dealt with. I know the taxpayers are feeling the effect of the new assessments, which are completely out of our control. We have no control over these latest assessments that are going across the county, which everyone's feeling the impact of. But then they go to trying to figure out where's that money going, and we begin then to sort of dig in a little bit deeper. And so we had the ability, we felt, to make a rollback, and that's the first time since 2017 to roll that millage rate back some because of where we were headed financially as a county.
When the documents were presented to you guys on Monday, as far as if you'd have left the millage rate the same, it would have generated 6.661 tax increase over the rollback rate.
Mm-hmm.
The rollback rate was 16.874. You guys went to 17.5. So is that? I mean, are we looking at half of the tax increase? What was the? Yeah, I think that they suggested that by leaving it the same. Let's see here. I don't know if I have that document, but there were prices about how much it could cost a regular house, a home. Oh, I'm sorry. Here you go. $97 annual tax increase for average homestead property valued at $225. $79 annual tax increase for average non-homestead property valued at $175. Those were the examples that the financial office gave.
Sure.
Earlier on, but that was if you left the millage rate the same. But you guys did roll it back about half.
We did, and here's the thing that the people need to understand. Whenever a county a school system uses their millage rate to collect their funds, what happens is when we put forth effort, it all goes back to local effort. What are our local people contributing towards the tax base? When we roll that millage rate back, the state then in return, those state dollars, they I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, they sort of punish us for less local effort. So what they do is they reduce their state monies.
That's equalization.
There you go. Equalization happens. And so they reduce their state money. So we can't take into account just what happens in the impact of our millage rate rollback. We have to look and say, okay, now what will the state do in return to reduce their dollars? And when that happens, it's a compounded effect. And so as a board, we have to make sure that we're diligent to be looking at both of those numbers and not just the surface value. So what we feel like we found, we've got an incredible financial officer there in Delene Strickland that studies this and looks at it and provides us a lot of great data and information, working along Mr. Cowart. And when they balanced those two out, they said, we can fairly make that adjustment knowing the impact of the state dollars, in a recommended range of around that 17.5 millage rate.
And that's a 2-year factor also.
Yeah.
They give us 2 years, and then they hit us with that cut.
Yeah, and we have to forecast out what could be happening economy-wise that could make a difference. And again, it's a guess right now, especially with inflation where it is. Our costs are soaring just like everyone else. Every household, from fuel prices to energy prices and those kind of things. Yes, the school system has to pay power bills and phone bills and those kind of things, standard type bills. You got to weigh all of that in, and the inflation effect, as well as knowing those state dollars are going to be reduced after that 2-year period. We have to take that into account.
And the ESSER funds will be gone in 2 years also.
Yeah, and ESSER funds are our COVID money, and we're thankful for that. I feel like our county has shown a good effort using those monies wisely as we've added tons of school tutors and instructional coaches and some positions that can help supplement some of the education loss during that COVID period. And of course our statistics show striving improvements academically in spite of that COVID effect.
Do you guys feel like you have to spend that money? I mean, is that presented to you that way? I mean, I think there's stipulation in things, and they say if you don't use it, it'll go away. But do you feel like you have to spend that money?
Absolutely not. I mean, we run a budget at the church, that I oversee there, as an administrator there. And I like to look at it from the approach of what we do personally there at the church. We don't incentivize, we don't scare our staff members into saying, if you don't spend all your money, you're going to lose it. We want to look at that in an analysis type approach and not incentivize people to just spend money to spend it. I'm thankful we got a very conservative approach, from our board, from our leadership, in the school system, say, we're not trying to push you to spend these monies. And as we saw this past year, our fund balance began to creep up. And I think that's because we have a very conservative approach to our spending here in Carroll County. I'll tell you something else, Colin, I think is really important. When we begin to analyze what these other counties that are multi-school school systems are bringing in per student, I don't know, it's not highlighted enough, but of the counties that we usually compare to, Paulding, Douglas, Coweta, and several of those, we spend the least per student. When you take our budget and our local effort and you divide it per student, Carroll County spends the least per student of those dollars divided out. So, for instance, you take our local effort, our local taxes. We spend $2,963 per student when you divide what comes in per student. That's half of what some of these other systems do. And when you look at the statistics of what our county school system's doing, we're doing far more, and our test scores and academically and those kind of things than systems that are spending far more per student. So our conservative board approach is doing a lot to do a lot more for a whole lot less money. So we love our process.
That number per student, is that based on the general budget?
It's based off of the local effort. That's our Carroll County dollars.
Okay, yeah, because it does frustrate me when I see that it's put out, that the budget's always put out. You guys put out a press release.
Sure.
It says, "Here's our general budget. This is what we spend. This is what we're taking in." But there's like 70,000 or $70,000 more dollars that you guys are getting from ARPA or whatever it is, and other factions. There's that's like, why can't we say you guys are spending $240 million next year? I mean, the spending's a big. I mean, spending
Sure.
is what frustrates people, I think.
Sure, it is. It's pretty clear when we put our financial statement. Our annual budget. I think the new budget we just passed $158 million. But we always release with that package all expenditures and what goes into that, and what's coming in from state, what's coming in from ESSER, what's also coming in from SPLOST and those type things. I mean, I looked at it again this morning just to review it, from our previous meeting last month, just to sort of get in my head. It's all right there. We make it public and make people allow people
with
to
the
see.
Press release. I know some people just copy and paste the story and put it on there, and it's just that's
Sure.
not telling the whole story. So it's disappointing.
I love seeing that we're doing more right here in Carroll County than you could possibly imagine. When you look at our test scores and our academics, our graduation rates and those kind of things, I mean, things are really soaring. You go around our campuses. Anybody drives on one of our campuses right now, I mean, it's unheard of, the quality that we're able to give in facilities also now. That was at one time something that was way behind. We've been able to catch up. Previous boards, our boards worked very, very hard with Mr. Cowart to catch those facilities up. But not only that, we don't ever want people just to see the outside of a very pretty place and a nice building, but the inside decaying. For us, our inside's soaring, with our graduation rates and test scores and those kind of things.
One last thing on the millage rate, just to confirm this and make sure, because
Absolutely.
we got to take a break. I gave those figures based on if the millage rate stayed the same.
Sure.
So if you went back about half, I mean, where I said they're going to spend $97 their annual tax increase for average homestead property valued at $225, so that'll be $50 now.
Yes, on
about 50.
Close.
And then I said 79 annual tax increase for average non-homestead property of 175, so that should be about 40 right now. 39.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. All right, guys, we'll take our first break. Time right now is 8:43. We're talking with Carroll County Board of Education Chairman Bryant Turner and Vice Chair Sandra Morris. And again, questions and comments, feel free to post those on the Facebook page, News Talk 1330 WLBB, and I'll look at those during the break. We'll have more after this.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
I'm Michael Flynn, Oak Mountain Academy class of 1978.
Katie Flynn, class of 2010.
Justin Flynn, class of 2014.
Logan Flynn, class of 2019.
And I'm Marnie Flynn, current teacher at OMA.
My uncle Richard Orm Flynn, a founding father of Oak Mountain Academy, had a vision to see students become confident leaders who hold a faith-based value system in an academically rigorous environment. We are proud to celebrate 60 years of fulfilling my uncle's vision.
Our family invites you to visit the campus or oakmountain.us today.
8:44. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Good morning. Bryant Turner, Sandra Morris, Carroll County Board of Education, our guests on this morning. Going to try and run through some stuff here in the last 15 minutes of our program. Every time there is a school shooting, an incident, these tragedies that we see in other schools, fortunately not so much here locally or even in the state of Georgia at this point, but every time there is something like that, there's always a discussion brought up nationally about arming teachers. Mm-hmm. What kind of discussions have you guys had about that, or you just just no chance? Or
well, what we've tried to do is kind of really focus on what we feel like that we're doing well, and then find those deficiencies and try to improve on them. It's just like today, we have a collaborative effort in Carroll County like no other. When you see our Carroll County sheriffs and our city police that works along with us in each of the cities that our schools are in, they all come together for a security summit every year. This is something that Terry Jones, one of our assistant superintendents, and Russell Grizzard, that's over our head of our security for our schools, have worked together to cultivate and improve on through the years. They're doing that actually today, and it's one of the events I love to go and see, because you see all of those legal entities working together, and even first responders, they bring them all to the table. They work through scenarios, they work through ideas. What do we do? How do we handle this? What would we do in this situation? And I love to watch that collaborative effort work together. Mr. Cowart had a burden for our board to really do everything we could to move forward to not only financially support, but just mentally support. What does it take to keep our kids safe? Very, very important to us.
And this is the 10th year for this. And
yes, it
now,
is.
Now, were we, locally, was this the first county, first district system to put this together?
First we knew of.
I think so.
Because many other have not copied it, but they're followed.
Several have followed,
yeah.
And not only have they followed, they've inquired, wanting to know, what are you doing? How are you doing this? How's this working? And of course, we love sharing those ideas and making kids safe no matter where it's at, Carroll County or anywhere. We're very, very thankful that we have a great collaborative effort working together to accomplish some good stuff there.
One of the things that's good about that, too, is the local law enforcement become familiar with the property. It's terrible to go in and have an emergency and not know anything about the buildings.
Yeah.
So this way they have access to our buildings and know where to go, where the doors are, and it's just a good combination.
Our latest technology that we spent a considerable amount of money on this. We heard it at one of our school board conferences called Centegics, and that's a response card, much like swipe cards that our teachers have to get in and out. And that card, if one of our teachers or any administrator or person on staff says, I've got a problem, just by the tap of that card, it alerts our administrators, our security people, not just what the problem is based off the tap, but the location, the exact location.
GPS.
I mean, we can pinpoint exactly where some problems could be and be able to focus. That's just one example.
And you mentioned the investment into security. You mentioned Terry Jones, too, assistant superintendent. There was I'd say recently I saw him speak. It might have been Kiwanis or Rotary or something like that. But he said the biggest issue in all of the school shootings dating back a couple of decades was that classroom doors were left unlocked, and there were questions about that in Uvalde as well too. So I mean, why invest so much money in other security options if that seems to be the giant thing?
Well, we'd make that a priority first. We were already making that a priority, to lock those classroom doors. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I've done a school visit, and every door I turn to, you think you can sort of ease into an area or whatever, even with an administrator, and all of a sudden you realize, oh yeah, our doors are locked and our doors are secured. It's all about slowing down and isolation, and that's got to be number one, no matter what other money you spend, and what else you do.
And I guess is that part of the principal's job to go check those locks? Because they said in Uvalde that they complained about doors not being able to lock for like 2 months.
I absolutely. I mean, we've got several administrators on each campus. Not only that, I mentioned Russell a while back. Russell works along with our administrators.
He's former 5-0 too.
I mean, let's be honest. We oftentimes ask our principals to be way more than principals. They become investigators. They become first responders. They're trying to do so many. They're trying to do so many things, and so Russell, helps train and teach, and Mr. Jones, and say, here's some standard procedure and protocol, and they're all working together as a great team to try to keep their schools secure. Work very hard. We've closed most of our campuses down with different ways for access into the backs of the property, fencing, those kind of things. The last thing we want to do is we want a kid to feel like they've been in prison. That's not the intent. But we want them to feel safe. They want them to feel secure. We want our parents to feel safe and secure without ever giving that, mode of mentality, to our children, our
It's funny,
families. It ought to feel safe.
The schools that we grew up with, I would say they actually looked like prisons, but they were just wide open. And now they now they look like castles. And
There you go.
We also encourage the kids to talk about things.
Yes.
If you've got a friend who's got a problem, tell one of the social workers. Tell your teacher. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. Communication is so important. And even the teachers have got to realize they play a part in identifying a problem, maybe before it happens.
Yeah. Before we do take this final break, Georgia milestones are supposed to be released today. I suspect you guys have seen those already, right?
We have seen some reports, but it's not fully
preliminary.
Yeah, it's all preliminaries.
All right, we'll wait till 10 o'clock.
Well, no, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this: the preliminary is we've done great. We're excited. I do know that our elementary schools has exceeded in all 7 categories.
The state,
absolutely, the state standard. Our high schools, I think, have met. I want to say 5 of the 7. It's just been an incredible impact that they've had. Here, I got it right here. 15 of the 19 areas that we have beat in the Georgia milestone. So we're excited about it.
It's hard to do a 30-second news story on. You talk about 19 areas.
I know, for real.
Bryant Turner, Sandra Morris with the Carroll County Board of Education. Our guests on this morning's Community Voice. We'll take our final break. Come back with about 7.5 minutes on this Friday morning. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
As a believer in the power of education, we are called to set the standard by shaping and empowering the minds of future generations through quality education. Oak Mountain Academy embraces this philosophy, which is why my children attend this prestigious school. I am elated to serve on the OMA Board of Trustees, where together we prepare students and remind them to trust and believe in the power to transform the world. I'm Dr. Brian Bain, inviting you to celebrate our 60-year legacy of academic excellence. Visit us at oakmountain.us.
53. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. I'm Colin Worthington. Our guests are with the Carroll County Board of Education. Sandra Morris, Vice Chair of the Board of Education, and Bryant Turner is the Chair of the Board of Education. If you missed any of this program, it's going to be in podcast form on the website, newstalk1330.com at about 9:05, and of course it'll be on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page forever. So you can go back and share it with your friends and family. I do want to remind people, that millage rate, as much comment as we got on that story on our Facebook page, people are concerned about it.
Sure.
A lot of them didn't understand the whole concept, but they're concerned about it. But nobody comes to these hearings, do they ever?
Rarely.
Yeah, and there's 3 coming up in August.
We encourage people to be there and hear, and two, we like to hear from them. It's never shied away.
Well, there's never. Yeah, you can't always believe everything you see on Facebook, and you don't know who's where they're from. You don't even know if they're in your district, and they're talking about that stuff.
True.
So hey, if you do have concerns about that, please go to that meeting. A couple of things that legislators approved this past session that you guys had to address. There's a Parents' Bill of Rights and a divisive concept complaint resolution, and you guys chalked that up last night and said, all right, it's part of our stuff now. You explain those to us a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. And here's the neat thing about our situation. We already had the basis of those. We already had the basis of parents having the right to want to know what their kids are being taught, have a right to be able to dispute that if they had a common problem or an issue with that. That was not anything new for Carroll County. It was just something that the state really reinforced and wanted to make sure across the state it's being covered. Conservative nature here in Carroll County has been to always allow those parents to be involved, what we're teaching.
All right, I got about 4 minutes left in the show. I want to hand it over to you guys. There was something that with the ARPA, they've been paying school lunches. Everybody had free lunch for, over the last 2 years, but they changed that. And I hope all parents know at this point. I mean, so that their kids aren't going a week or two without lunch before the kids say, "Oh yeah, by the way, Mom,
it's going back to the procedure pre-COVID, which was back to they've actually provided free lunch for everyone over the last 2 years, through the federal funding and those kind of things, and so we've been able to tap into that. But now we're going back to regular paid lunches. But with that goes back to our old system of free and reduced lunches. Miss Marshall, you don't.
Yeah, even if you don't think you qualify for it, food is very expensive. If you've been packing your lunch because you think it's cheaper, fill out those forms and apply for them because you might qualify.
Sure.
And it's very important. We have to have those forms. I mean, we will be chasing you down if we know that your family is struggling and we think you're eligible. Please fill out the forms. You can do them online. You can call the board office to get instructions. You can even talk to the schools. They can help you do that. But that's very important.
There was a little confusion about that, and I had a couple questions about it. What's happened over the last 2 years has been everyone received free lunches. Prior to that, and moving back forward, there's always been that opportunity for those that couldn't afford their lunches or had financial hardships that they could apply for a free lunch or at least a reduced lunch, and then the other students then paid the regular price. So that's what the system is we're going back to. But in order to be a part of that free and reduced lunch, you have to apply like you once did pre-COVID.
And the lunch prices aren't changing this year. You talked about food increases and gas increases. The prices aren't changing.
Yeah,
at least that's what I saw.
No, I'm just talking about when you're as a family going grocery shopping. Food is outrageous.
Well, but it's going to be more expensive for you guys too. I mean, I guess my point is that
you're
not charging the students additional money this year.
We were able to hold those prices the same again this year.
All right, guys, we got about 3 minutes. The table's yours. What would you like to share before we head out? Again, school starts August the 5th, Friday.
We still have our wonderful PASS program in our high schools. So if children have got a problem, if their family's got a problem, there are solutions. Talk to us. Communicate with us. I mean, don't be afraid to share your problems because, we can't educate a child that comes to school who has a problem. If they're worried about mom and daddy's addictions, if they're worried about the power being on, worried about all those things, we've got the PASS program. We have counselors. There's lots of things we can do to help to make sure your child is ready to learn.
Absolutely. We talked about the financials on the front end of the program this morning, but we don't need to forget of the strides that we've made as a county, as a board, and our leadership to hire additional teachers. If we have to remember those major cuts that happened in 2008, 2009, that there was no other options. There was over 500, I think, positions cut during that period. To see Carroll County talking about those financials and getting us where we need to be, we've been able to replenish about 400 of those. We're still behind, what we want to do, but we've made some major strides. This past year, our governor's given, raises to our teachers. We've supplemented those raises. We've done our own additional bonuses and things across the board to our teachers. I know we give $2,000 to our teachers even at the end of this past year, and our workers. And so we're doing everything we can to put that back towards our staff and towards the resources that really make a difference. And we found out last night for the third year in a row that Atlanta Business Chronicle voted us the best place to work for the third consecutive year, the only school system named across our state. And so we're excited about that. Folks really want to work here and want to serve here. And when you hear some of the deficits that some of these other school systems have in filling their classrooms and filling those positions, I'm very thankful that I think they see what we're doing for our staff in order to do that.
Got 1 minute left. You guys officially renamed Bowden Red Devil Stadium last night too, right?
Oh yeah, we sure did. We finished that up and very deserving. Coach Hostetler's done an amazing work there, had an incredible record there at Bowden, and very excited for Mr. Cater and for the people of Bowden, to be able to do that. That was a great thing.
Is that naming already up? Is the name already up on there?
No.
I saw a picture that
no. I think I saw that picture on Facebook. They used the Jumbotron to do something digital temporarily, but there will be a naming. They're going to name the field after him. The stadium already has a name, but they're going to name the field after him.
Guys, thank you for coming out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you for all you do.
And enjoy your security, your
Security Summit.
Have a great year, everybody.
That's right. Let's have a great school year.
All right. Thank you for listening and watching us this morning on the Newstalk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and of course listening to us on the radio, Newstalk 1330 FM 106.3. Steve Graddick's back in this seat on Monday. Going to talk to a couple of individuals who our success stories from the Carroll County Reentry Program. That show on Monday starts at 8:30 right here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Have a great weekend, everybody.